I think it might be shorter than even today. Yes. Really only a couple of slides. Yeah, it should really be interactive. Anyway, I'll let you Okay, hello, welcome on the Virtualization on Secondary Architectures workshop I have prepared. So my name is Dan Horák. I am working as a secondary architectures team lead in Red Hat in platform engineering, and I'm based in Red Hat for 7 years, and almost all the time I'm working with mainly the IBM provided non-mainstream architectures, meaning mainframes, S90, and Power. So I will give you some information about the team I work with. Then I will talk a little bit about the architecture, about the technologies we have for virtualization on architectures, and then we will talk about the projects that are built on top of the virtualization technologies, and yeah. So for the team, we grow from 2 people to about 6 people working as a team on the secondary architectures inside Red Hat. First, we were only 2 guys, one working on mainframes and the second one on the Power architecture. Now we have, as I said, 6 people, which means that we can do more stuff than just the daily work of fixing issues that are coming from the Fedora build system and keeping the Fedora stuff built and prepared for the upcoming RHEL version. And now we have the capacity also for doing some interesting development, porting some stuff and such kind of things. Our main goal is to have functional parity with the mainstream architectures, which means that we would like to have everything built on the secondary or non-mainstream architectures as the primary, usually the Intel x86 has. This workshop is somewhat special because my idea was that we will talk about the technologies, about the architectures, and about the stuff that's already done and working, and also about the missing pieces, because we would like to hear from you what are the problems, what are you interested in with regard to the secondary architecture, and what could you work on and to help us and such kind of stuff. So I've prepared a Etherpad on the URL you see here, where we can gather some notes what we will be talking here about, because I definitely don't know everything and you might be better experts in some areas. So as I said, this should be a gathering of information from all the people, because as I said, we work mainly with the IBM architectures. We have here guys working with ARM architectures, there can be similar problems, different problems, and we would like to know as a whole what we should direct our work in the future. So I will jump to the technologies first. A short overview what is available, what was available, and what we would like to use. There are, I think, still the Zen installations. It is still an open source hypervisor technology, but if I remember correctly, they are dropping the non-mainstream architectures from the code base. I think PowerPC was dropped, ARM was dropped, so it's targeting only the Intel architecture, so not so interesting for us. There are a lot of, not sure if lot, but multiple proprietary technologies, especially in the IBM world, when they have virtualization technology, one for mainframes, second from the power side of their business. And then we have the KVM technology, which is I think the most common one now, because it covers all the architectures we care about, especially in Fedora world. So it's interesting for us that it is the common base for building other layers on top of that, and they will look almost the same on all architectures, which should make our life easier. So there is a short list of the architectures we would like to work with. First, I will start with the S90, which is the mainframe from IBM. I think this is architecture where the virtualization started, I think, sometime during the 60s. And it's really interesting to see some references in VMware papers to the IBM patents from the 60s or 70s when they were taking the technology or stuff that IBM invented many decades ago, and they were using it for the today's technologies. As you can imagine, I couldn't bring a mainframe here. It's a really big box. So there are a couple options how anybody can work with that. One is the Hercules emulator, which is, I would say, the software implementation of the mainframe, which means that they implement all the features IBM describes in their books about the architecture, and it allows you to run a mainframe system on your laptop or workstation with all the features a real mainframe, well, almost all features a real mainframe has. And there is also an option if you would like to work with some Linux operating systems on the mainframes, to ask us, as we are able to give you access to some public guests where open source projects and do their work, testing, porting, and stuff like that. For IBM Power Architecture, there are even two kinds of KVM. One is KVM HV, which is the real KVM, I would say. It is the KVM we know from the other architectures, when the KVM process gives you the hypervisor, real hypervisor access for the provides a hypervisor for the upper layers, with really directly being directly connected with the CPUs and with the underlying architecture. It is supported on Power 7 and newer processors because it requires some features there, and also on the old ones, PowerPC 970 stuff, which were used in the Apple G5's machines. The second one is KVM PR, which is the KVM for that you could run on top of the IBM virtualization, because, as I said, IBM has own solutions, and previously they were selling their machines with their own Power VM hypervisor, and as you can imagine, you couldn't run second hypervisor on top of the lower one. So this KVM PR is using or emulating the machine as a user process, which means that it has to emulate all the privileged instructions inside the process, which means it is slower, but it is still KVM, and you can build on the same stack on top of that. Again, if you would like to work with power system porting, trying, there are options how to get access to power machines. IBM has, I think, 3 locations when they provide guests for open source projects: Oregon State University, one university in Brazil, and also in China. And there is a new project starting here at this university when they will provide machines for university projects, but also for projects from the source vault. And the last option is to run Power8, IBM provided simulator of the architecture, and yeah, you can run regular operating systems there, and even there were some posts on Google Plus how it can be used for developing or testing the firmware. They open source recently, and you can try it here. That's about the architectures I know most about, and then, as I said, KVM is fortunately working on across all the interesting architectures. So there's KVM for ARM and KVM for AI64, and I would ask Marcin to give us more details about this. And
one thing is that ARM is not secondary architecture.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
But when it comes to ARM, basically we have to forget that there was something before ARM v7, which means we will talk about only those supported ones. And so we have a Cortex-A family. It means we have Cortex A8, which we can forget. It's BeagleBone, board. They don't support virtualization. We have A9, which doesn't support virtualization. And then we have Cortex A15, A7, A12, A17. And they support virtualization with KVM. We're supporting with Zen as well. But KVM works. As long as your bootloader knows how to enable hypervisor mode, which U-boot does, as long as you are with up-to-date software stack on it, it will support KVM virtualization. On ARM v8 or ARM64, virtualization is a part of CPU design in all versions, and KVM works.
Okay, thank you, Marcin.
And I think there's a software emulator for ARM64 as well. This is
yes, there is foundation model, but you know, I was so happy 1.5 years ago when I finally got hardware access. Then I prefer to only remember that there was foundation model, there was the fast model, which wasn't faster than foundation.
Yeah.
Or rather, first there was a fast model, and then I created foundation one to give access to anyone. And of course, you can also use QEMU if you want to emulate ARM v8. And currently, QEMU is the best solution if you don't have access to hardware, because it is faster than foundation model.
Okay. And you can probably use more than one CPU and QEMU.
I was just running few copies of foundation model that I needed.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And I think I will ask Michal to give us some information about his experience with KVM or SRNT, because he's the guy who did the real testing with Fedora and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so for Fedora 20, it was kind of working randomly. The machine was like booted 3 out of 5 times and twice died with a random read error or some deadlock on I/O or whatever. We didn't find a real reason. But with Fedora 21 and QEMU 2.0, this got really better. And actually, we never tried KVM on bare metal mainframes because we don't have that access to that yet. So we only have a ZVM guest on an X390, and I've been running KVM guests within that heavily for like 2 months. It's always worked for me. It's like how slow because the second one is virtualization. But I would say, well, it's not how slow. The CPU is really fast, but the I/O operations are even slower than anyone would expect. But it's still faster than running Hercules on an Intel CPU. So yeah, it works pretty well. There are one and with the QEMU 2.0, you'll see with Fedora 2, I believe we'll have QEMU 2.2.
Rawhide already has.
Yeah, so I didn't try that, but it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah, sure.
For how many of these, and specifically for S390, can you run, if you're on Intel and you're willing to take the performance hit of pure emulation, can you run QEMU S390 and boot F21 on an Intel host? Does it have full emulation?
I always believed that's possible, but I never was able to make it work.
I see references to it. People say you can trap all the instructions that would normally be done by hardware virtualization, but no one has it working.
Yeah,
except
I never managed to get a single kernel boot
not
like
even any
that.
okay.
Yeah, the process doesn't die or anything, but it doesn't run.
Okay, so we got to the same point then.
Yeah. And it's the same as if you try to anyway. I tried on the S390 just removing the dash enable KVM,
Yeah.
and it's got the same. Like it's not running it.
Interesting.
Is there in Hercules any capabilities of virtualization? Could you run a QEMU in Hercules?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, I told her he was going to try.
Oh!
You mean KVM guest inside Hercules? I think it's possible because Hercules emulates everything. It will be slow.
It always or gave me like invalid instruction.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting, because you can run also IBM hypervisors there, so I would guess it should work.
They want you to buy S390.
Yeah, what is...
What's the smallest S390 that you can run?
I don't know, maybe a fridge.
$2 million?
No, it's very much cheaper, but still
Yeah.
above the bar, I think, for many of the people.
It's more expensive than a QB truck.
Yes.
Consider how many hair dryers in life over a lifetime. You get one for free.
The reason I ask is that if we could get it working even horribly slowly, we could buy into all the tooling around libvirt,
Yeah.
which would be very nice, even if it is really slow, because then we just run 100 EC2 instances and we can test it.
Yeah, maybe it's just one of the tasks for the audience here to really try it, because that's what we are here, all here for. New challenges. Okay, so please, guys, any more information, questions regarding this low-level stuff, or should we continue a bit? Well, so I guess it will be much shorter than I thought.
Maybe a question.
Sure.
What about some support for containers? Is there something that would provide us some lightweight way how to replace, for instance, mock or something to run builds or tests in controlled environments rather than splitting up VMs? Is there anything in ARM or PowerPC?
I think there is. For ARM, Docker is working, as Dennis Gilmore already tried. So we was able to build Docker with Golang and run a container from it. For PowerPC, it should be a matter of short time because Golang just received support for PowerPC architectures. Sorry?
Lucky bastards. RPA doesn't have support in Golang.
Yeah, in Golang.
So no Docker for us.
Yeah. So this power, so we should be able to build Docker, for example, or Rocket or whatever stuff will we choose for the containers. There is also GCC 5 that should have enough support for of the Go language to run or to be able to build Docker and this stuff. And yeah, because there is Go support in GCC 5, we should be able to try Docker or this stuff on S32 and probably on AI because it's already everything enabled. So.
I mean, the missing piece is S390 though. I don't think S390 has a Golang or a GCC code yet that does it.
It does.
It does?
We already do builds of the Go front end or backend front end in GCC for quite a long time. I think there were some issues with the Go support for S20 in some internals that I don't know if it would generate bad code or fail for some reason, but the Go front end is already there. So we are just waiting for the best of the GCC work to get into and try it. So the whole Docker world is already almost open for even for this non-Intel, non-mainstream architectures. So just again, task for anybody who would like to try it, just tell us or just try it. Not the problem. Okay, so any more questions, opinions, filling the gaps?
The gnome-box is very
Well,
desktop oriented.
yeah, I know. I will go through these ones. I will start with libvirt. I think everybody knows libvirt is a management layer on top of not only KVM, but if we have KVM on Arches, it should be easier to get it using. I guess there is no known issue in libvirt across the architectures because you can do the guests there even manually and then manage it or attach to it using the libvirt daemon. So I guess it's not the problem. If anybody thinks there is a problem, please tell us. Virt-manager is, I think, different story because as far as I know, it still lacks the support for installing the distributions on the non-Intel architectures because it doesn't know how to get the stuff to the virtual machine. But if you have a guest running, you can attach with the virt-manager to a machine with the guests and see them and see their properties and this stuff. Okay. Questions?
So
Yeah.
what's missing in virt-manager then specifically? Is it like just enabling it to put the initial GUI mechanism?
Yeah, I think this part that's missing in the virt-manager.
There were some, at least in V8, or there were changes to make sure that libvirt will assume that there is a UEFI, for example, because if you used virt install, then you can say, oh, there is a flash storage with UEFI on it, there is a flash storage for variables, etc., which you are not unable to do in virt-manager, but it's very low, a kind of very low level thing.
Yeah, so again, we are waiting for you guys to help us, because as you see, there always will be a lot of work for a lot of people to improve the situation and to get all the non-mainstream architectures on par with the mainstream ones. And once we are there, it shouldn't matter what is below, and everything will work. Then I have here Kimchi mentioned, which is an IBM project. I think it is what they use for their Power KVM boxes, which is a new hardware line they provide when you buy so-called Linux-only IBM Power machines, that they can't run the and you can't run the Power VM or the IBM AX system and the other IBM operating systems there. It's just pure Linux machine. So I think that's what they use as a management layer. We are working slowly on a package review to get the package in Fedora. It was really good to have a guy that was earlier an IBM employee and now is a Red Hat employee, so-called Violet Man. No. So, and he worked with the upstream because the project had a lot of stuff bundled, no VNC, I think Spice libraries for JavaScript were also bundled, and it was really great to have him and to know the people on the IBM side, so we could talk to them directly and ask them, yeah, we are working on a package review in Fedora and we can't bundle all this stuff you have here. So they resolved most of the issues, also some licensing stuff. So there is project for anybody who could help with the review or trying it, everything. So it's possible. There is also GitHub repo with all the source code where you can look, you can help. It's something, well, I forgot to say, it's HTML based user interface for managing the virtual machines that uses libvirt, which means that it is a standard way of managing virtual machines in the open source world now. So why not to provide such option in Fedora world?
I mean,
Yeah.
an interesting option for that just occurred to me would be maybe to ask and talk with the cockpit guys. That would be maybe something that could be part of the cockpit management interface and be the part of the web interface to manage virtual machines. Because, I mean, virt-manager is obviously not capable of running in a browser, but Kimchi is. So that would be. And I mean, Kimchi is not for power only. I mean, I use Kimchi for Intel boxes already.
Right.
It works fine.
Platform
There's a
agnostic.
couple nice features still that virt-manager provides, but in general it works, and it has a couple of things that it really does better. It can group systems and use templates for systems too, which is kind of nice. So it kind of combines a little bit what
sounds like an interesting option to improve the management side of our Linux system, which was always
And
the pain.
it's really in line what Cockpit does.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Cockpit uses a lot of already existing underlying technology for the management that they do, like with Python delivery or storage and things like that. So that would be kind of neat.
So again, it's open space for everybody. So next item is gnome-boxes, and as Martin already mentioned, it's a bit too tied to the desktop and to the Intel-ish side of working, but it should be in theory possible to manage remote guests, as I know.
There is one thing which gnome-boxes requires. Your guests need to have video output. It doesn't handle situation like on MV8. We are perfectly fine with guest VMs, but the only way to connect is network or serial port. With virt-manager, it just works. You have internal serial console, you log in, it works. With gnome-boxes, you need to have video card.
Okay, good to know.
Because there was a moment when there was a bug opened against boxes to support probably PowerPC 64.
Yeah.
And there was a request to take a look. I
Yeah.
did, and
We did
boxes
too.
builds, boxes
Yeah.
runs, boxes assumes that it will have a video output from guest.
Okay, so again, it's a project I think written in Vala language. So if there is somebody interested in learning new language, you can look into it and work with the GNOME guys to improve it. Because I heard they will try to rewrite some parts of that to make it more, well, not so tight to the x86 architecture. Because
It's not tied to
yeah, well,
66 even.
I think it is. So at least a bit there are some parts that are really if it's x86.
gnome-boxes is a virt-manager without huge amount of steroids. Right? Because you can look at virt-manager is over, but you can look at in reverse way. Boxes is very simple. It gives you a list of guests. You can run. You can see what you can interact with a guest. That's basically all it can. It is supposed to for normal users who have absolutely no idea about VM. It's like I am running Fedora 20 and I would like to see how Fedora 21 runs, but I prefer not to do it on my machine because it will probably eat my hardware or something. So I will fetch ISO, run it into boxes, and we'll take a look. This is a tool for, in my opinion, for this kind of use.
Oh yeah, but I think it should be useful for the PowerPC or PowerPC because we should be able to create guests with video output. So if someone would like to,
And for the open power hardware, which is about once they fix the BIOS issues.
yeah, but for the virtual video output, it shouldn't matter if they are not able to provide the real physical video output. So, yeah. Yeah, and the last part I have here is libGuestFS. So it's I think quite important part of the virtualization stack, and even tied to the cloud stuff for building the images. And the point here is that it's written at least partially in OCaml, and OCaml doesn't support all architectures. Well, it does support, but the native backends are written only for, well, I know SUNT is missing in the list, so, yeah.
So at the risk of saying something that people already know, but it's something I'm pretty sure is right, Rich is at pains to point out that the core of libGuestFS is written in C.
Yeah.
It's only the binding generators that require
Really?
OCaml, right?
Okay, so,
Not that it's
we need,
interpreted as a binding.
and that's the information I was looking for in this workshop, that we should focus on the on
So
such
it
stuff and look if it's possible to build it at least for. Yeah, thanks.
So we should be able just to disable the OCaml bindings and then.
Well, no, there's OCaml code that generates the bindings for all the other non-C languages. But you should at least be able to get core.
So
of
it's
GuestFS
so the
without-
basis of libguestfs
You wrote
even.
some binding
Oh, nice.
generator in OCaml.
Great. And
Which
Thank you.
architecture doesn't have OCaml?
sorry.
Which architecture doesn't have OCaml?
Well, SRNT doesn't have the native backend of for OCaml, so we can build OCaml. I think there are few modules, or how they call it, that we are able to build on SRNT, but the rest is missing. So that's again part of our long to-do list, to have someone who is interested in non-mainstream languages to write a backend for the non-mainstream architectures for languages like OCaml.
Or we maybe convince Richard that potentially rewriting the now written OCaml language.
Won't happen.
That was just hypothetical.
Yeah, but it's really good to hear that we should try to look on that, because libguestfs is a crucial part of the stack that builds cloud images and this stuff. So that's all I have here, and really it's now upon the community to get further here. So any questions, comments, please speak up. What would you like to see from us, or if we are looking for projects you would like to work on?
If there is someone insane enough, I would love to see virt-fs support in piano code written on BSD license or something like this. So we will get UEFI binaries in Fedora. So, because nowadays you can run ARM-v8 VMs in Fedora, but you have to provide UEFI for it because it consists.
So
From what I remember, was the common issue with Tiano Core UEFI is that virt-fs driver is not quite open license.
Is it in RPM Fusion?
It's not.
I don't say too much.
So we are so quiet here. So please ask.
I've heard a few times from people who support, like the the libc maintainers, the glibc maintainers, that are really nicely encapsulated, easy way to get a minimal, fully emulated system running
Yeah.
for secondary architectures would be nice, because they do
Yeah.
encounter bugs that are specific to it, and then as you say, with S390 in particular, you have to find your way onto a box, which is fairly rare, where it's,
And
even if it takes forever, if you could do it in emulation.
I think it was yesterday or the day before, Carlos already mentioned on the mailing list that they would like to
Yes.
implement some continuous integration for glibc, because
This is actually Carlos who told me that, so
Yeah.
you're hearing.
Yeah, I think
again
he was
from
talking
him.
about that on Flock last year,
Yeah.
when he would like to have such kind of functionality.
And with the machine and Maris that.
Yeah, that's what I would like to offer him and talk to him, or that we have the option now to provide either, both PowerPC or Power Machines and S390. So, because when I was watching the glibc mailing list, there are patches flowing in, and sometimes there are broken stuff for especially the non-mainstream architectures, and it's because they are lacking the continuous integration. That's the password maybe, sometimes it works. Yeah, it's really hard to create a demo here because
You couldn't arrange to roll an S390.
yeah. I have a big car, but even into that I wouldn't fit it. So
What size is the smallest S390 nowadays? One fridge, two fridges?
one fridge, yeah.
They had one fridge size.
And I think the prices are starting around, or maybe slightly above $100,000 with the lowest end machines. So yeah, I think there are some Linux-only machines.
At that price, I think they would give it free
Yes.
2 weeks then.
And it comes with an on-site engineer for
For
the
instance.
first week.
So
Yeah, I mean, if people are really curious about the power machines too, I mean, we've ran quite a few things on them internally already, especially Power boxes. And now when we get the machines in Brno, hopefully up soon and external, feel free really to contact us because those beasts are fucking fast. I mean, literally insanely fast. So just for if you want to try something out, it's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting, trust me.
and that's what they are there for. So
Right.
if they are open source projects, just talk to us and we can provide the access.
So we always
even
use content, we always
either for,
projects on those machines.
And we can provide a guest for in the if you don't need the access to the bare metal or some that would you prefer for performance performance stuff. So like I said, have a project and talk to us.
Yeah. And if it breaks, it's actually good because then
Yeah.
we see where things
And-
might still be broken.
And
That needs fixing.
not sure if it's appropriate here, but IBM is also interested in creating the community around power systems because that's in their interest, business interest. So that's natural for them to try to expand the knowledge about the architecture. Yeah, for S390 it's more difficult because there are not so many systems that are accessible from the internet. So, but we can work on that, and we already have the possibility to provide the access. And I think personally, through me, the JDB project and Valgrind project are using the machine and doing the Valgrind is already doing, and JDB will be in a couple of days when I expand the disk for them. So. They can store the build there. So.
And then make a disk.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, thank you for listening. And I know it was shorter than expected, but as I said, so interactivity was my idea. Didn't happen, so that much. So. Thank you. That's it. So, you are the guy who talked to us on IRC or no? No, that's another project. But